first part of breaking into mobile presentation is design, getting started on your app. It starts with an app idea, and if your app idea isn't good enough, it isn't going to perform well in the App Store, no matter how well it is designed or coded. So, to develop an app, you need to remember to keep it small in scope. What it means is that your app should only do one or two things. You shouldn't make a mobile app that tries to do everything. Your app should work in tandem with the other apps on the user's phone. So when you pick an app idea, it's narrow. It's a clock app, or it's a to-do app, or it's a browser. It's not everything. Along with this, you should focus on the app idea itself and not the features. It's really easy for you to see a feature and go, wow, the accelerometer feature, this other feature, they're so great. We should make an app that uses that. But it's not the app features that make an app good. It's the idea. No matter how many cool features or animations your app has, if the app idea isn't any good, people are going to stop using it because it's not useful to them. So what makes your app idea better? I've been saying to-do app a couple of times now, but there are lots of to-do apps out on the App Store. It's not enough just to make another calendar, another to-do, another social media app. Why are people going to use your app over others' apps? And it can't be a minor difference, such as like, oh, our UI is a little better, or we have this one feature. If a user on the App Store can't tell why they would use your app over others, they're not going to use your app over others. What it means is that it's about how well you actually execute on the idea. Even if you have an idea that fulfills all these prior requirements, if you don't make the app well, people also aren't going to download it. As you're seeing, there are a lot of barriers to downloading apps in such a highly competitive market. So make sure when you've decided on your app idea that you execute it well so that people don't see any bugs or any other problems that will keep them from downloading. When you're about your app idea, is it easy to tell them about it? If your app idea is difficult to communicate, like it takes 10 minutes or someone doesn't understand initially when you explain it to them, you need to refine your app idea to make it easier to share. If people can't tell others easily about your app, they're not going to, and then you're losing out on those downloads. Make sure that all of these requirements are fulfilled, so to say, is to talk to people about your idea. Don't sit and develop tasks in secrecy. If you don't tell people about your idea, you could be missing out on big issues or big opportunities that other people are able to notice because they have a different perspective. But in the same grain, take what they say with a grain of salt. It's really easy to get wound up saying that, oh, someone said this about my app, or someone said that about my app, or someone said this about my app idea, when they really just, made an offhand comment and didn't put in the deep thought that you have. So if you have a reason to ignore people's feedback, don't be afraid to do so. You will know that your app idea is ready to move on with and to develop more if you could talk to people and they immediately understand what it is that your app does and why they should download it instead. After your elevator pitch for your app, they shouldn't have anything left to say but, wow, that's a great idea. I'd love to download that app. This is where you start validating your idea. You make a website where you can collect email addresses or user information that you can use to start building an audience, even before you've actually started producing your app. An audience can help you with the design and beta testing throughout all of the stages of app development, so you should have that audience there at the beginning. Plus, getting the audience early proves that your app idea is a good one and that you should go forward with development. To promote this online, tell your friends and colleagues about it, and solicit criticism. Don't just plaster your network with messages about this app, it's going to be great. You're still in early, remember to say, oh, this is my idea, what are your thoughts, what could I improve? Do you think this is a good idea? Do this also with people who sign up for the mailing list. Perhaps you should set up an auto-reply message that asks them what they think of it or what they would change about the idea. This is where Pufferfish software failed with our app Visual Routine. Not validate our app idea at all. I just had this idea and I rushed off to making it without even assessing whether the idea was a good idea or whether or not anyone would use it. What happened was when we put it out on the App Store, there was an app which did the exact same thing that I didn't know about because I didn't validate the idea. And we have since then been struggling to compete with this app because both of our apps are so similar. It is time to pick a business model for your app. And many variations on these two types. There are essentially two types. The long tail model, which is a company has many apps that are very similar but have essentially the same purpose, and they all target the same customer base. And the marketing for these apps is going to be unified under the same company. This is what Pufferfish software does. We make 5 apps for autistic children, so all of our apps have a similar purpose. They're all targeting parents and caregivers of autistic children, and we don't have individual websites for all of our apps. We just have one website at pufferfishapps.com. And there's the flagship model, and this is what you hear a lot about for big name apps. Like Facebook only makes the Facebook app, Snapchat only makes the Snapchat app, so on and so forth. It's usually more than just the app. It's a website and a whole system. Really, it's a very popular model because if you focus all of your energy on one app, it's more likely to get big, and then when it does get big, you can handle it a lot better. The long tail model is more commonly used for game developers who just make, small game after small game, relatively similar like platformers or point and shoot. This is why farther down. Honestly, you find long tail model apps a little farther down on the charts than you do flagship model apps. Just like there are those two business models, there are 3 pricing models for an app that should be informed by the business model choice you're making. That's flat pricing, free, and in-app advertisements. Very simple. You just say, this app is $3.99, and then it's $3.99 on the App Store. Once they've paid for it, they've paid for it forever. Is where the app is free to download, but purchases for more content are available in the app. This is really common with games. Pay $1 to get 20 more lives for thus and such game. Common in other styles of apps as like extended content, like in the library app, in-app purchases might be additional books, or in a teaching app, in-app purchases might be additional learning content. The last model is in-app advertisements. And this is most common for apps targeted at demographics that don't have a lot of money to spend. This can include cheap games and social media. So the advertisements inside the app constitute the revenue stream. That's becoming less and less common because Apple is trying to discourage it. So we chose flat pricing because we're trying to make it easy for parents of autistic children to access our app. We didn't want children to accidentally make in-app purchases in the app, or we didn't want parents to have that option available if they didn't want it available. And if it's a flat price, you don't have to worry about any of it. The next thing you need to do once you've picked all this out is get to designing your app. First, you have to ask yourself what you want the design of your app to look like. That shouldn't just be a reaction on your part. You should consider your users and what they need. Give your users? What sort of